I'm ready. There we go.
Looks like it's straightened up.
There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. What's up, Miami Dolphins fans? Chris Perkins here alongside Dave Hyde. Welcome to another edition of Dolphins Deep Dive. And look, the Dolphins are back on the winning track. Tua Tagovailoa is back. Teron Armstead is back. Hey, maybe this offense gets going soon. The Dolphins are averaging 21 points per game, 19th in the NFL. That's not terrible, but it's just not good. And people were expecting good, like, immediately. The defense got back to its playmaking ways last week. Yeah, the injury to safety Brandon Jones is a downer, but that defense and the secondary in particular has really sparked the team this season. It's a sign of hope for the future. And then we're going to talk about how well the Dolphins can do in this next run of games. It's the so-called soft part of the schedule, Dave Hyde. Let's dive right in. Dave, what did you see from Tua Tagovailoa in his return last week after a 2-game absence, being in concussion protocol? And what do you project for the next few games from Tua based on what you saw?
Well, I don't want to project because he didn't look very good, to be honest with you. I mean, the first series came out on fire. That was a scripted series. It was a system. McDaniel and him had worked on plays, obviously, that week. Guys were wide open. He made some quick reads, nice throws, boom, boom, like a point guard going down the field. Second drive, pretty good drive, get a field goal out of, and after that, nothing. They had 10 first downs after the first quarter, 7 first downs the rest of the game. We really should be sitting here talking about if Pittsburgh intercepts 2 of the 4 balls they dropped. So there were problems the first game. You can chalk it up to rust if you want. You can chalk it up to not working with these guys. But when you project what you want to see, it's not that game.
No, it's not that game. But Dave, how much leeway do you give, because Teron Armstead was coming back and Tua was just coming back? You just got that offensive line settled. There are some things that you could say, well, they were working against the offense. On the other hand, that the offense only had 1 touchdown. That's a trend that we've seen, and to me, that's unacceptable. I know that the offense is going to take some time, and I've been a person who has consistently said that, but I didn't foresee the kind of this 1 touchdown per game, I guess, snail's pace for this offense. But do you buy any of those? I'm not even going to call them excuses, Dave. I'm going to call them reasons. Do you buy any of those reasons for the offense to have only produced 1 touchdown in that 16-10 victory over Pittsburgh?
Look, having 3 quarterbacks in your first 7 games isn't what you want to do. Okay. And having your quarterback, having Tua go out for 2.25 games isn't what you want to do. So, that's legitimate. At a point in the year where you hope things are really starting to come together, there's a reason for that. I get that. When you look at these 7 games, and to be honest, Tua's previous couple years, there's a handful of moments where he's looked good. The Baltimore game, the fourth quarter, that was electric. I mean, what they did there, okay? And you thought, okay, maybe they're onto something. That quarter, 28 points in the fourth quarter, that's 19% of their point total this year. So basically 1/5 of their points were scored in 1 quarter in Baltimore, okay? That tells you the rest of the time they're not really putting up points. Now, and I asked McDaniel about this after the game. They're putting up yards.
Yeah.
they had 23 first downs the previous game. Not Tua, but 23 first downs versus Minnesota, and they couldn't dent the scoreboard. That's a winning number usually, and so they got to figure out how to get points.
They do, and look, Dave. We saw Teron Armstead return at left tackle, and that was a stabilizing force for the entire pass protection package. Probably had something to do with the run game kind of showing some signs of life once again also. But Armstead, look, as it goes for team MVPs, Armstead, to me, is no worse than number 3. I've got Tyreek Hill, number 1, maybe Xavier Howard or Teron Armstead, number 2, and X and Teron because of the ripple effect that they have on the rest of the team. X, obviously, the defense, Teron, the offense, and specifically the offensive line. And look, you made reference to the quick passes from Tua. That's a lot of the Dolphins' offense is coming into the last game, 59% of his passes were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. And really, that's just NFL offense nowadays. This isn't the 70s and the 80s where people are just throwing it way downfield. But we have a Twitter question, Hyde, and we always appreciate you guys sending in the Twitter questions when we ask for it. By the way, you can listen to this Dolphins Deep Dive on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. But let's go out to this Twitter question, and it comes to us from CJB8511. And the question is, it seems like this offense is close to becoming one of the best in the league, but it's missing something, and I don't know what it is. Any thoughts? Hyde, I say time and talent. I mean, and I'm not trying to be cold or funny, but they do need time. There's a lot of new in this offense, as I've referenced, from the new system to the new coach, the new offensive coordinator, 2 new offensive linemen, 2 running backs. There's a lot of new in this system. The system is new to Tua. And then talent, look, that offensive line needs an upgrade. Running back, we'll see. I think they're okay at quarterback for now. We'll see about the health situation. Receiver, if you've got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, you're good. Tight end, they want blocking tight ends, not receiving tight ends. By the way, Hyde, if a team is struggling to score and they've got Mike Gesicki, how about using Gesicki more? But anyway, the offense, what do you think is missing from this offense, Hyde?
I think you just gave the laundry list, Perk. But look, the strength of the offense, we all know, is speed. And
Yep.
2 fast guys on the outside, that's the strength. Raheem Mostert has proven to be the number 1 back. No debate there. And so there's your strength. And you got to get those guys making your plays or play off them. And if the defense is, really going after them, you see a guy like Sherfield making a 30-yard catch.
Yeah.
Or River Craycraft having a couple big catches this year. Gesicki, the coaches could not be more honest. And the tight end coach said, "Look, I got a text from the
Kelsey, right?
Anyways, the tight end in San Francisco, the great one.
Oh, Kittle, that's right,
Kittle and George Kittle, and at 3 a.m, showing him making a block downfield, and that's what they want from Gesicki. That's not Gesicki's game, and so I would think at some point you mold some things to him to get in his talent, because you need a 6'6" guy who can go up and get passes, and you saw in the Baltimore game a great pass by Tua, maybe his best of the year, and a great catch by Gesicki for a touchdown, and yeah, I'm with you, Perk, but I really thought we'd be past this of the offensive line of they need help on the offensive. They have taken so many draft picks, so much free agent money, and poured it in there that make it work. Yeah, and look, and you see a team like Cincinnati last year go to the Super Bowl, and people are beating the heck out of Joe Burrow. He's taking sacks, but they get there. We saw Seattle in the Russell Wilson days, the Legion of Boom and Beast Mode days. They had a terrible offensive line, so it's possible. You don't have to keep using first-round picks, but
at some point, you've got to marry the player with the coaching staff, with the system, and make it work. And that's what the Dolphins have failed to do so far. And really, Dave, that leads us into our next segment, because this Dolphins defense has just done great work. And you talk about a success. This is a marriage, right, of the player and the system and the front office supplying you with players. They've had the first round picks right back there, or the first round pick in the secondary back there. You've got with Javon Holland, you've got Xavier Howard, the second round pick, Brandon Jones, who is going to go on IR as the third round pick, Kader Kohu and Nick Needham as undrafted finds. Why can't what's working in the secondary work and on other places of this team?
Let's be honest, when they were playing great quarterbacks, they were getting to the Dolphins defense. That's great quarterbacks do. When they played Kenny Pickett, Josh Boyer came up with answers for shutting them down. Okay. And all credit to, as you wrote a nice column after Sunday night's game about the secondary and all the issues they've overcome in a game like that, including Brandon Jones, their leading tackler, by a wide margin, going out of the game and probably out of the season. And that's just an add-on to the cornerback trouble. So, look, yes, they have found ways to survive. And really, for the most part, was without a big pass rush. I thought they would need a big pass rush to win a game like that. I mean, some of it's, let's be honest, they were playing the 31st ranked offense. If they were playing the Bills, that's a different matter, and it's a different weight class. But, give them all credit for what Josh Boyer did on Sunday night, and, for holding the defense together with, everybody thought when Byron Jones went out, how is Kader Kohu going to survive? And he's been a find this season, and then he gets hurt, and they get, Justin Bethel, a special teams guy. So, hats off to what they did Sunday night.
Yeah. And look, Clayton Fedulum, another special teams guy, is out there. Veron McKinley, who was just elevated from the practice squad, he's out there for a few snaps. And that secondary really, and in the bigger picture, the defense has really done a pretty good job. Look, they haven't been perfect. They did beat Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and they faced some, they beat Lamar Jackson, and you can say whatever you want about Baltimore blowing those coverages there in the fourth quarter, but the Dolphins took over. The defense made a goal line stand in that game, and after they had already allowed 28 points or whatever, they made a fourth down stop. But the defense seems to consistently find answers. You take personnel away from them, and they still find answers. And, I think that gives hope for the entire organization, because, again, that's front office, that's scouting, that's draft and develop, that, get them in here and coach them up. And the entire defense, and, again, that secondary in particular, just offers so much hope. But Hyde, you referenced the Brandon Jones injury, and Mike McDaniel said he'll probably go on the injured reserve list. But just how much can this defense and this team absorb, Dave? At a certain point, I admire and respect that next man up mentality. But, as I've said to some players this week, at some point, the next man up is not as good as the guy across from him. And then what do you do? Are the Dolphins at that point where the next man up is now, a guy who's marginally talented, and you've got to struggle to make up for him?
Well, first of all, that sunlight, the stadium sunlight in your background and in your face, it's like perfect. It's like perfect.
It's like I'm on the visiting sideline, right?
Yeah. Look, injury make a season. Yeah, we know that, right? Over the course of a season. Every team, look at Baltimore last year. Their season was sunk by injuries. Look at the Chargers this year. They're losing some of their best players right now. The Dolphins have been swamped by injuries. Okay, they've had They came in bunches, okay, and at some important positions, obviously left tackle, quarterback. Some of that you question. Look, they buy a left tackle knowing he's going to miss 5 games a year because that's what he's averaged. Is anybody surprised? Maybe surprised by the toe injury, but not surprised that he's going to miss games. So, yeah, it can sink a season. It shouldn't sink a season in this stretch, though. Okay, this is a soft a landing spot. In the first 4 games of the year when they had the toughest schedule coming out of the box, yeah, that was a problem. Now it shouldn't be. They should be able to get through this.
Yeah, they should be able to get through this. And as we're talking about injuries, Dave, we're going to flip to the other side of the line of scrimmage very quickly. And we'll go out to our Twitter question, and it's from O'Shea Morris. And O'Shea M21 from Twitter. And the question is, should Miami be looking at quarterbacks? With Tua's reckless style, durability, and his inability to put up points with protection and weapons consistently, no reason this offense should average less than 25 points per game. So, we're going to look at the injury from the other point of view. I don't think they should be looking at quarterbacks primarily. Maybe because of the injury situation, you keep it on the back burner. But Dave, your thoughts on Tua's durability, and we're talking about health here. What are your thoughts here?
Are you serious? We're going to talk quarterback right now? Come on, we're going to do this right now. Okay, the Tua answer will come in. Okay, he will answer the question, and if he was turning everybody into a nervous little league dad or mother in that game. Okay, when he goes running and creates head-on collisions with linebackers and defensive backs, that's just, if I'm Mike McDaniel, that's not the way we're going to run the team after what. That's a selfish move on his part. I'm sorry, you cannot be knocked out of a season that way, and that's just taking too much risk when the franchise has so much invested in you. Don't do it, okay? And if I'm McDaniel, yeah, everybody, we love the competitiveness. No, we don't. We do not love that competitiveness for a guy who's had 1 or 2 head injuries this year and just right in the rear view mirror. You do not want him going helmet to helmet with people, okay? And I would put an end to that right now if I'm the coach. Slide. Okay, so where's it go? You're not getting a quarterback, okay? Let's just – okay, before it even started, they have a good backup in Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, he looked bad at times in the Minnesota game. His 4th quarter, he had a 133 quarterback rating, though. Completed 15 of his final 17 passes. They got a very good quarterback to develop in Skylar Thompson. It's as good a quarterback room as you could expect, maybe in the league. Okay, as if get rid of the Josh Allens out of some of those rooms, but as good as you could expect. Let's not have a quarterback conversation right now.
Yeah, I agree, but those questions constantly come up on Twitter and everywhere else. What about Tua? What about Tua? I think they're fine right now. Let's let the young man grow. He needs to stay healthy. Give him a running game, for goodness sakes. That helps like 90% of the quarterbacks on this planet. But
had a pretty good running game. The last game was fine. It was for an NFL. I mean,
it was okay. I mean, the Jets, the Jets game where you rush for 137, I believe it was. But you would listen. What I would like to see, these teams are playing so much too high safety on them. We saw it with Pittsburgh, and you can play a soft zone because you don't want Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle going deep on you, and you don't want them running up all this yak yards after catch because of missed tackles. So I would like to see the running game excel so that teams have to make a decision. Do we drop an 8th man into the box to stop the run and risk that pass, or do we keep getting pounded by the run, and keep and protect against the pass and the yak? But it's a big question for the Dolphins as far as, can you get to a little bit more help? Listen, here they got him enough. Okay,
the run game help. He has enough help. He's got the best receiver in the game. He's got another great receiver. He's got a good running back. Not an awful line, mediocre, maybe average. That's enough help. That's enough help.
Boy, I would disagree, Dave. I think you need a stronger run game. I really do. Look, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are plenty for the pass game, but the run game, I think you need some help. Look, we got a question from our chat here, Dave, Hyde, and we appreciate you all watching the show, obviously, and chiming in on the chat. Here's the question from the chat. How much leash does Mike McDaniel have left with this offense? Only scoring 15, 17, 16, 16 the last 4 weeks. When does the pressure start to mount? I'll say, let me say this, Hyde.
Are you serious? Come on.
I think the pressure would mount from inside, from the pressure that McDaniel would put on himself. I don't think that like Chris Greer or Steve Ross are going to be going, boy, we regret this decision to hire Mike McDaniel. That's not going to happen. I think it would be more frustration from the inside, from Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator, and Mike McDaniel, that they put on themselves, that they look and say, we expected more from this offense. Now, you have had mitigating factors, right, with the injuries to the quarterbacks, to your offensive tackles. But if they're not going to make excuses, I'll give them a little bit of an excuse or a reason. But I think they're going to be okay offensively. It's just going to take time. But Dave, do you see? Should the pressure be mounting on Mike McDaniel?
We're not firing coaches after 7 games, okay?
Well, wait a minute. Wait.
Some sanity and rationality in how you're talking about your team, much less how you expect it to be run. Okay, if we get these questions, if you get to game 17 and they go on an awful losing streak, then we'll address these type of questions. If the season goes down into the bottom of Biscayne Bay in the second half of the year, okay, then we'll have the question. Okay, we'll talk about Sean Payton. We'll talk about what could be out there. Because let's face it, I was blindsided by Brian Flores' firing last season. Okay, but come on, 7 games. We're talking about the pressure mounting on a coach. Doing that.
To be fair, I don't think the question had to do with McDaniel being fired. I think it was just maybe from fans or internal pressure. I don't think the question was, is McDaniel about to be fired? And hopefully I didn't frame it that way. Maybe I did.
I guess I'm just I hear trigger words, and in the past 20 years of the Dolphins, remember some of this stuff.
It's Pavlovian with the Dolphins. Right. All right, Hyde. Well, let's switch back to the defense really quickly, because somebody else on Twitter had asked me yesterday about Byron Jones, and I know this comes up all the time. Do I have any more information on Byron Jones, and does it feel like he wants to come back? And here's part of my thing with Byron Jones, Dave, is that, he had the Achilles surgery in March. Maybe he should have had it earlier, whatever. But, the Dolphins did have good fortune bringing back Brent Grimes and Cam Wake from Achilles injuries. So I'll kind of defer to the Dolphins on this, that I'll trust their judgment and how they're bringing Byron Jones along. Coach Mike McDaniel said it's been frustrating for all parties that he doesn't expect Byron Jones to take the field this week. But from your standpoint, how much do you trust the way that this is being handled, and do the Cam Wake and Brent Grimes experiences even apply here?
Well, I remember talking to Brent Grimes and Cam Wake about their Achilles surgeries, and they said it's all about getting it right in the surgery. The rehab will take care of itself as long. And we saw Marino's Achilles, and he's limping around still. I mean that just to give you how good and not so good. Okay, Achilles surgeries go, but usually you come back from those at this point. Marino was the early 90s. By now, so trust them. What else can you do? I really don't get people saying, "Oh, he doesn't want to come back," or Why wouldn't he come back? He needs to get another contract. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
from all logical and business reasons, he wants to get back on the field. Okay, and so yeah, I just assume at some point, if he's healthy, he's going to be back.
Yeah, that's that. If he's healthy, that's the huge caveat.
Don't know.
Right, and we don't know, and look, we don't know exactly what the surgery was for. I don't know if it was a tear or what it was with the Achilles, but I did think that he was going to be back by now. Maybe, I don't know if the Dolphins led us to believe that, or if that's something that I inferred myself, but I expected him to be back right now. Hyde, let me ask you this, and we can wrap up this thing about the injuries. What about Teron Armstead, and what did you see from him? Because he's a very valuable piece, and the ripple effect with him, we saw that Tua was barely touched last week. I don't know if that was all Teron or what, but we're going to give him a lot of credit. What did you see from Teron? And, again, this is a guy who averages 5 absences per season the last, I believe, 6 years. How many more games do you think they get out of him?
What's he missed, 1 game, or is that where we're at? So
well, I think 1 and maybe 2.5 or something like 3/4, whatever. Yeah.
Then I guess we'll get 3.5 more games he should miss, right? I mean, if we're going by the law of averages. So, I mean, you sign somebody like that, you're getting, when he's in the game, a top left tackle. And you can see it. The first 3 runs to the left side on Sunday night went for 24 yards. Okay, you see the talent there. Now, what you have to weigh is if you're planning to win, he has to be there in January.
Right.
Is going to be there in January. That's if I'm the general manager, that's where I start. Okay, and so you signed out of desperation, really, because you needed a left tackle, so you can get the answer to the Tua. So you signed a top flight player when he's healthy, but he's not always healthy, and so you're really rolling the dice with some big money here.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I like the signing because of what it showed, and the Dolphins going for it and everything like that. But man, they've got to at some point they've got to solidify that offensive line and be able to keep these guys together for 2, possibly 3 years. So we'll see what happens there, Dave. All right, well, let's go into our final segment, and this is going to be a good one because this involves the quote-unquote soft part of the schedule, which, I kind of laugh at that because I don't think that the Dolphins are in position where they can really consider any part of the schedule soft. We can as fans and media, but they can't, and I don't have any indication that the Dolphins are considering this the quote-unquote soft part of the schedule. But, Dave Hyde, the next 2 games are at Detroit, at Chicago, and we know the road is never easy. The Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken, they're 1-2 on the road, right? You win that game at Baltimore, and you lose at Cincinnati and at the Jets. And, the opponent, to a certain extent, is almost secondary when you go on the road. Life is just tougher on the road, and life is easier when you're at home. So let's talk about these next few games, Dave. You get some familiar faces. You start off with Detroit, and look, and you're a big quarterback guy too, so I'm going to mention these quarterbacks. So you start off with Detroit and Jared Goff with our old friend Dan Campbell coaching them. Then you're at Chicago with Justin Fields at quarterback. That follows Cleveland and our old friend Jacoby Brissett here at home. You get the bye week, and then you at home Houston with Davis Mills. Dave, can you expect the Dolphins to only have 1 loss in that stretch? What are you thinking?
Well, you can hope they go undefeated against those teams. I mean, let's face. Would you rather face that stretch of quarterbacks? And of them, Davis Mills might be the best quarterback. He's an interesting idea for Houston. Okay, Justin Fields last night against the Patriots. they came out with a new offense, and they decided to use Justin Fields to his strengths. And if they're going to do that, that might be a different Chicago team, especially by the time the Dolphins get there. They've had a couple games to settle into that offense. The interesting thing about Detroit, first of all, Dan Campbell aside, I love covering Dan Campbell. I from a writing standpoint, I mean, from the first time he sat down and I talked to him for 45 minutes about, a funnest story. He was called Dan Talica because he loved Metallica.
Right.
Dan, okay. But he grew up in a small town in Texas. So small, it's not. He goes. I asked him, so you're from, this small town in Texas? He goes, well, that was the closest town to where I'm from. And the University of Miami sent recruiters out there to him to recruit him, and they walked on the practice field and they looked around and they said, where's Dan Campbell? No, there he is. And they said, wait, he's white? And they said, yeah, because they saw film. He was wearing black sleeves all the time. They thought he was. So he comes with a great story. So, anyways, back to the Lions. I don't know quite what to make. They have the number 1 pick in the draft right now. They're the worst team in the NFL. Okay,
right.
So, but their last 2 games on the road, they were shut out by New England, and they scored 6 points against Dallas. They were going in to take the lead against Dallas and fumble the ball at the goal line. But you talk home and away. At home, their 3 games at home, they scored 35, 20, 36, and 45 points.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're 0-6 the last 2 games on the road. So I don't know quite what to make them. Did teams figure out what to do, like New England and Dallas figure out what to do with them, or you get into that dome where it's perfect conditions? Is Jared Goff a different quarterback? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Detroit was one of the top scoring teams in the league for a stretch there, but they're also one of the worst scoring defenses in the league. So yeah, you do kind of have that trade-off with them. I think one thing is with the Dolphins is they're going to have to find ways to consistently score points. And we've talked about this before, and we talked about it a little bit earlier today, but an offense that's only allowing that's only scoring 21 points a game, which is 19th in the NFL, they're going to have to find ways to step it up. And look, that could be the case starting this week, where Detroit is going to be at home, and what if Detroit scores 24 points or something like that? How are the Dolphins going to be able to counter that? And I'll say this, Dave, that the Dolphins had showed earlier in the season that they would be a big play offense, which is fine when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But if, like the last few weeks, those big plays aren't there consistently, then how are you going to score? And that to me is one of the big questions for both the Detroit and Chicago games, is that, I think the defense is going to be okay, but how do you consistently score? How do you score 3 or 4 touchdowns per game for these next couple when you're on the road, Dave?
Well, the defenses are going to take away the deep ball. I mean, why Baltimore allowed Tyreek Hill to get deep twice in the 4 is one of the great mysteries of the season. They're just saying we're not going to let that happen. And so, that presents a lot of other options that the Dolphins have to take. Now, going into a dome, this is perfect for the Dolphin offense. I mean, this is perfect. You got the speed on a turf, inside turf. It's like a track meet, and you have Tua in perfect conditions. And he doesn't have the laser arm. Okay, we know that.
Right.
It's fine. That's like 4th, 5th on the list of important things for a quarterback. But in a dome, you don't need a laser arm either. You go to Chicago the next week, it could be a windy November day, and that'd be a different matter. But this game in this setting should be perfect for the Dolphin offense.
It should, Dave. And we're going to go out to Twitter for another question here. And this question is about Mike McDaniel, and it comes from J7 Kilo. And the question is, you've been around many Fins coaches. Does anything make Mike McDaniel stand out compared to the others? With me, he's a player's coach, which, I guess Adam Gase was kind of a player's coach, but it's the offensive creativity. That's the thing that stands out to me. They haven't gotten the run game going. I like the, kind of the Shanahan offense, almost the Kyle Shanahan, on that tree. But, last season in San Francisco, when McDaniel was the offensive coordinator, their run game was number 7 in the NFL. I love that. I hope that they can get something even close to that this year. But, because that helps Tua, that helps everybody. But the offensive creativity is the thing that stands out to me about Mike McDaniel. He's a rookie head coach. He's going to be better next year than he was this year. People talked about the 4th and 3 call with running Chase Edmonds last game and some of the clock management.
Good. That was and actually they ran Chase Edmonds in the line on 3rd down and 4th down.
Correct. That's correct.
Not good. That was not good.
That's correct. But I the offense and being a player's coach, maybe more so than others, and the offense, and then I guess from our standpoint, the press conferences where, he's still cracking these little jokey jokes, which my hat's off to him, because we wondered, well, once this guy loses back-to-back games or 3 in a row, is he going to be as jokey? And God bless him, he was. But what stands out to you about Mike McDaniel, Dave?
Everything. I mean, you touched on a couple things that he's not your typical NFL coach.
Right.
He's not Tony Sparano or Jimmy Johnson or, guys who are going to by force of will and by force of word push guys and rally and get guys together and win that way. Old time. This is the new wave coach, and you sit down and talk to him. He likes to talk. He likes words. He likes, has a good personality in a sport that just drubs down personalities to like a hammer. To act the same. And so, look, I really hope he makes it from a completely selfish standpoint, in that I want to see guys like this succeed in football to show him. Look, Pete Carroll was at close to this as far as players coach or not being a drill sergeant dictator as a head coach. Okay, so but if you want to know what he brings on as from X and O's, look at that first drives Sunday night. I mean, guys were running wide open, and Tua made just the quick reads, and that was scripted. These were scripted plays, and they saw how to attack the Pittsburgh defense, and zing, 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 6 or 7 passes for 68 yards by Tua. Okay, and the second drive, by the 3rd drive, you're into adjustments. Okay, and Pittsburgh adjusted, and things got bogged down and all that, but you saw how he can script plays right out of the box.
Yeah, I'll say this also about McDaniel, that, a couple of these home games, we've seen him with his wife and his daughter down on the field pregame, and he's holding his daughter and giving her a kiss. And, it reminded me of Stan Van Gundy, who, when he first took over the Heat, and, he was a guy who liked to be at his kids' swim tournaments and soccer tournaments. And he was saying that one of his neighbors one morning looked at him and goes, wow, I'm so glad you got to be head coach. He goes, I didn't think guys like you got jobs like this. And that's kind of how McDaniel kind of is when you talk about the nice guy and kind of the anti-NFL coach, not the we're going to win, forget your family. And, winning is number one with him, and it was with Stan Van Gundy. But it's a different approach that we see from these guys. Like you say, new age. And the way that McDaniel structured the locker room, where it's not, defensive backs here, quarterbacks, wide receivers. His thing was, I know Hyde, but
we've seen every choreography in the locker room right? Haven't we?
We have, and look, I don't think that that's going to have a big effect, and I did say that, but I like the approach. I like that kind of the new age approach, and so
Now, my guy Jimmy Johnson, swagger coming out soon, but
like it.
He was terrible reference.
No, promote, baby.
It fits in here. He talks about costing him his home life. He cost him his marriage. His son became an alcoholic, or is an alcoholic, and he beats himself up over that to this day, that he didn't recognize and get some help earlier. And so, there is a cost of this lifestyle for a lot of these guys. And let's tell it like it is. McDaniel's an alcoholic too. Okay, yeah. I mean, he stopped drinking in 2016. But it can be a lifestyle that is addictive and costs you a home life.
Yep. So, well, look, I think McDaniel is a breath of fresh air. We'll see what ultimately happens, but I applaud him for doing it his way and not joining the rest of the NFL machine and doing it the way that it's been done for so many years. All right, Hyde, it's prediction time. So, again, this is that soft part of the schedule, which, man, the way the Dolphins have had injuries and just kind of the way the NFL is, and because they continue this soft part of the schedule with two road games, Detroit and Chicago, I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to pencil in back-to-back victories here. So
let's go with one. What are you doing with Detroit, Perk?
Well, with Detroit, I know. Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
I can see you're filibustering. It's something bad's coming out. I can see it.
No, not at all. I'm going. Here's the questionable part. I'm going Dolphins 28-24. I'm not sure that they're going to get to the 28, Dave. I'm really not. That's my only part. But I'm going Dolphins 28-24. Everybody is healthy enough right now that I think they start showing signs of progress, things coming together. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dolphins 24-23. A very tight game, and I don't know how you get 24-23, but that's where I'm going, because I want it to be a 1 or 2 point game. I just think this. Let's start. Detroit's not they're 1-5 for a reason. Okay, right. They're 1-5, and so if you think the Dolphins are something should be happening with their season, they win games like this.
Right. I would agree with you. And boy, this Sunday, do we fall back this week? What is happening? Like usually.
I think because you're at Hard Rock Stadium and you got the sun in the background. It's like you're actually there, Perk. It's beautiful.
This was just terrible planning on my part, man. This is just awful. I mean,
the opponent and an hour in the sun. Are you wilting? You feeling a little? You need some water, IV, or anything?
I know, and you know me, it doesn't take much to make me sweat either. So it's a small miracle that I stayed dry here. This all kinds of stuff going on here. So, all right, Hyde. Well, listen. Let's conclude the show with this. What do you see for the second half of the season? I know we're not completely done with the first half yet, but I think the Dolphins' health. I don't think they've had an inordinate amount of injuries at this point. I think they just came in a cluster, and they came at a lot of key positions. I could see the health thing straightening out, but I don't know what's going to happen with the offense the rest of the way, and second half of the season, and even the rest of this little soft part of the season stretch. But I'm going to say I see the health thing evening out. I do see the defense continuing to make plays, but I wonder if that offense can get you average 3.5 touchdowns per game. So that's my big question as we look at the second half of the season and into these next couple. What do you have any thoughts on what we might see second half?
Yeah, look, the offense right now at total yards, they rank 10th.
Yep.
Pretty nice. That's pretty good. Points, they rank 18th. So they need to get their production up to really where it should be, considering their yardage. Okay, if they get 10, 12, in points, then that would be the step. And that's really, and yeah, the defense, I think this defensive line can be dominant. You look across it, the talent, the players, the investments, and they're getting some of it. And you see stretches where they're having their way, and then you see other games like with the Jets when in the fourth quarter when they just got manhandled, so that's the other thing, especially if they're going to have so many injuries on the back end. The defensive line needs to consistently play at a level that I think their talent should.
Yeah. And last thing here, the perfect book over your shoulder there that you did. It was great. Hey, always great to see those 72 Dolphins out there, and great to see the book there, Dave.
Hey, and they talked about the champagne toast that they get ridiculed for. Dick Anderson and Nick Bonacani.
Yep.
One year, Bonacani called up Anderson after the Cowboys lost they were the last undefeated team to lose, and hey, let's celebrate. And they came over and that got national ridicule. Well, Larry Seipel was asked about that. He goes, "No, I don't drink champagne." He goes, "I toast with beer." And then Larry Little was asked about it. He said, "I don't do champagne. I do Grey Goose." So they're all saluting. Philadelphia is the last one, but it was a lot of fun. I think you can laugh at the 72 Dolphins, and people do, or roll their eyes that they've been around for a while. But to me, they're like the 27 Yankees or the Dream Team. There's only a few teams out there that are known by one season, and they stand for something, and they stand for undefeated and perfection. And that might be the 50th anniversary might be the last time we see them.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Dave. My first year on the Dolphins was 2000. This is now my 12th season. And one of the big pleasures, I mean this honestly, has been getting to know those 72 Dolphins. And probably we do them a disservice as a media by just showing that moment. And it kind of makes it seem like they're sitting around waiting for one team to lose, but they've all got lives. Like, this isn't the central focus of their lives.
And this really, it bugs me when I hear stuff like, "Oh, get on with your life." Are you kidding me? What? Right. Nick Bonacani was a CEO of 2 Fortune 500 companies before starting the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis. Bob Greasy was a lead analyst for college football and had his insurance company. Doug Swift, the linebacker, he went when the Dolphins flew up to New England for a game. He went and took his Medcats, and he quit football the next year and became a doctor. I mean, these guys, you go down the line of Jim Manich ran a construction company and was a top radio talk show host. You could go down the line of that roster. It's amazing. And then, and getting to know them, when I did that book, it was a blast, because at that point they're in their 50s and they have led lives beyond football. And it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see them.
Yeah. Now I'll say this also, somewhere out there, there's a picture of a young Chris Perkins in a Miami Dolphins turtleneck from second or third grade back in 72, 73, Fernwood Elementary School, south side of Chicago. And I was a Dolphins fan because my older brother, who's 3 years older, was a Dolphins fan. And so, forgive me, Wally Chambers and Bobby Douglas and all those Bears from that era, but I was a Dolphins fan for a while, and I'm trying to find that picture so I can put it up. But those 72, 73, 74 era Dolphins, baby, I was a fan. There's a picture out there somewhere of me wearing a Dolphins turtleneck, so I'm going to try to find that picture.
Get the book, Still Perfect. Perk, you have to read that.
That's right. That's even more valuable than that picture. All right, that's Dave Hyde. He is your Sun Sentinel columnist. I'm Chris Perkins. I'm your Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist. I'm going to try to get out of this sun and get some shade. We'll see y'all next week.
Hydrate, Perk. Hydrate.